From Craig Rolson in Europe, David Gerber in Brazil, and our editor-in-chief and publisher, Don Oshman, it's time for this week's Sunday Night Week in Review.
Good evening. It's time once again for the Sunday night edition of the HideNet Market Report Week in Review, covering North America, Europe, and Latin America, and this week in leather. It's Sunday, November 23rd, 2014. My name is Don Oshman, editor-in-chief and publisher of HideNet Market Reports. Excuse me. From Europe this week, our Craig Rolson reports that business slowed across the continent, still hand-to-mouth, and expectations in many quarters of lower prices. The cow prices appear to be the most vulnerable, as they are in America. There's more supply and less demand, or whatever the supply is, there's less demand for cows. The bulls, which have been going along fine for the automotive tanners in Europe, like the South German bulls and so on and so forth, they were okay. They weren't any stronger, but they were okay. Like America, like in Brazil, there's payment issues, slower LC openings. In America, it's claim season, probably the same thing in Europe. You know, there's the spring, summer, winter, and fall, and claim season sometimes as the market retreats, which is what's going on. And Craig finds that most hide producers are fairly well forward sold, so they're not under a great pressure, and that's why the prices haven't collapsed or gone down even more. The producers knew what was coming with the holiday closings and so on and so forth, and got themselves fairly well forward so far. Meanwhile, for every hide that's not sold, a hide is not bought. So sooner or later, tanners have to keep their drums turning as well, another factor. We are very excited because on December 4th, HideNet is putting on the very first of its kind international interactive forum on leather and on hides as well. It's going to be live from, I'm not sure yet, probably from America. We have people who are on our panel, all on your computer. You can get it from wherever you are, on your pad, on your phone, wherever you are, but don't use a phone because it's too small a screen. I'm going to be moderated so far we have confirmed speakers or in discussion from Mike Larson of Tyson Foods, Andy Seward of Clark's, now he has his own consulting company, and we have another a speaker, a participant yet to be named. But these people are going to discuss a number of topics that include world cattle supply and demand, more wet blue and less wet salted on the market, the current price trends and future direction, and then the effects of leather manufacturing gradually moving out of China, how consumers perceive the value of leather products, selling leather with natural defects, and so on and so forth. It's going to be a great thing. It's free. All you have to do is go to an email, forum, capital F, then small ORUM, at HideNet.com, and we'll show you how you can register and sign up for this complimentary, free, hour-long forum with these industry leaders. And you can also send in, we have an email situation where you can send in questions to these three speakers, or participants, I should say, on our panel discussion, and you can send them to me, you can send them to each participant, or you can send them to all participants this question, and we'll answer during the program. If you live in a wrong time zone, you can get it on a video a little bit after the forum, like in the next week or so. A week from Thursday the 4th, on the 11th, we're going to have it live from Beijing, and we're going to have Mr. Su Cho Yang from the CLIA, plus his assistant, whose name I can't pronounce at this point, and some other members of the Chinese industry talking about these same topics from the Chinese tanner's point of view and the Chinese retail point of view. That should be a fascinating program as well. You can register for both events, albeit the one in China is going to be all in Mandarin. You can register for those by sending an email to forum, capital F and small ORUM, at HideNet.com, and we'll show you how you can register. So don't miss it. It's going to be terrific. A new groundbreaking thing. And we are also setting it up so that in 2015 we're going to do this 4 or 5 times again with different topics and different panelists, leading people in our industry. And it's like you don't have to get on a plane, you don't have to get a hotel room. You can just, in a sense, chat with these people via email and hear what they have to say about topics affecting all of us. You can also send in questions as well as comments. In North America this week, the market was lower between $1 and $3, depending on selection. As we wrote in our report, prices retreated. So that's what's going on there. For example, wet blue Texas, we're down to $126 CNF, and some think it might even go lower. So the wet blue market's under a little bit more pressure than the wet salted market. We had a week ago Friday, the steamship lines there's a big labor issue at the West Coast ports. There's this labor slowdown, so shipments aren't being loaded, unloaded, incoming, outgoing, and the labor union made a slowdown. So ships aren't getting loaded, you can't get hides out, you can't get containers, and the steamship lines put on a surcharge of a lot, like $250 for a 40-foot container, and said they're going to raise it in December if the labor thing is not settled. It's been going on since July already. And then on Monday, after every shipper in the world, not just hides, complained, they rescinded the charges. So that was the news there. But there's still a problem getting hides on boats and getting other products shipped and imported. Speaking of shipments and government regulations, the United States, U.S. Department of Agriculture issued new health certificate regulations this week. Also in this week's North American U.S. market report, we have a quarterly earnings report from Tyson and UEN. And then there was a cattle on feed, which showed that the cattle on feed was equivalent to about a year ago, but placements and marketing, bringing cattle to the packers, was the lowest level since the record started being kept in 1996. Combined exports were only 391,000 this week on a kill of about 560,000. Combined shipments were 517,000, so shipments and slaughter were below production, even this low production, which is now well over 2 million hides below last year and a little bit over 7.2% compared to last year. So slaughter exceeded sales and shipments, which has been a case the majority of weeks since July. Is the market going lower? Get a free trial and find out. We're right about 85% of the time. In our forecast, we tell you why we think it's going to happen, so you can put that with the information you have and then see what we have to say. Free trial, HideNet.com. Follow the steps for a subscription. Latin America, David Holes was traveling today, so we didn't get his report, but that'll be out tomorrow for those who subscribe or have a trial. Meanwhile, in Miami, in Leon, Mexico, the tanning center of Mexico, the World Footwear Congress had their second confab, got together, and they had over 800 attendees, very well attended, with participants from not every country in the world, but every hide leather industry country in the world. Tremendous attendance, great list of speakers. That just started today. It's going on for several days. We'll have more reports on that later. Argentine shoe upper crust for footwear in the Far East or wherever it is, that business is slowed, probably due to Chinese New Year is what our sources say. Buyers will book Argentine crust for non-automotive purposes, for footwear, if they can buy significantly lower, which is the same thing in North America this week and the same thing in Europe. Splits are lower, which makes it more difficult for tanners to pay more or pay the current price for hides. And Asian tanners, we also understand, are buying more Colombian wet blue as opposed to Brazilian wet blue because it's cheaper. The quality isn't quite as good, or some people think the quality's been better, but I know in Taiwan, for example, they're actively buying, which of course is going to put that market no longer to be a bargain. This week in leather, we talk about the West Coast port disruptions, which I just explained to you. We talked about luxury brands and how the profits are coming down and the volume is coming down on the purses and accessories. We talk about the Chinese economy is experiencing, quote, one report said, a period of pain. And we talked about Wolverine shifting production to Vietnam, and we're running out of time. Again, thank you for watching. HideNet.com. Don't miss a chance to watch this forum. It's going to be terrific. December 4th. Thanks. Bye.